No one went to the northern halls by choice. You were sent there when all other doors had closed. The great stone chamber was colder than it should have been, even with dozens of torches lining the walls. Their flames flickered uneasily, as if they too understood what this place was meant for. High above, banners bearing ancient crests hung stiff and lifeless, watching silently as women stood arranged upon the raised platform like offerings. Not brides, not truly. This was where unwanted futures were decided. They stood shoulder to shoulder, each woman marked in her own way by failure, by time, by rumor, by loss. Some had once been beautiful enough to inspire songs. Others carried scars that spoke of violence, of war, of punishment. One clutched her hands over her stomach, eyes empty, already resigned to whatever fate awaited her child. Another held her chin high, defiant, as if daring the crowd to reject her. Again, they had all been brought here because no one had chosen them. And, at the far end of the line, stood the woman no one could look at properly. She was wrapped completely in dark fabric. A heavy hood pulled low over her head, shadows swallowing any hint of her features. Not even her hands were visible beneath the cloak. She did not fidget. She did not weep. She did not try to be seen as she stood perfectly still. Whispers spread through the hall, like a living thing. What could be so terrible? Someone murmured. That she hides herself even here? Perhaps she's deformed, or cursed, or worse. The crowd leaned forward, curiosity sharp and cruel. This place fed on curiosity, on desperation, on the quiet understanding that none of these women were here because they were wanted. Beneath the hood, Claire felt every stare like a blade pressed against her skin. This was the end. If no one chose her tonight, her fate had already been decided. Her father had made that clear long before she was brought here. If she returned unwanted, unclaimed, unsold by contract, he would sell her outright. Slavery was legal for those no longer considered daughters, and he would do it gladly. She did not need to look to know where he stood. She could feel him nearby, a presence heavy with loathing. Somewhere beside him stood her sister, radiant and untouched, pretending not to know her. Claire's hands trembled beneath the cloak, though she forced herself not to move. If she was made to lower her hood, everything would be over. She would rather be rejected unseen than exposed. The auctioneer's voice droned on, listing bloodlines and practical qualities with all the passion of a man selling broken tools. Healthy. Proven fertility. No living claims. Each description stripped something human away. When he reached the woman beside Claire and dismissed her with a flick of his hand. Claire knew her turn was coming. Then the great doors at the far end of the hall burst open. The sound echoed like thunder. Every voice died mid-whisper. Every head turned. Something rolled through the room. Not noise, not movement, but pressure. An instinctive response buried deep involved blood. Dominance so absolute it made breathing feel like a conscious act. Claire felt it slam into her chest. Not an alpha. Something older. The Alpha King. Someone gasped. That's impossible. What would he be doing here? He entered as if the hall belonged to him, as if every stone had been laid for his steps alone. Tall, broad-shouldered, crowned with pale hair that caught the torchlight like winter steel. His presence silenced even the boldest nobles. Rumors followed him like shadows, that he was beautiful beyond reason, that no one had ever truly known him. That winter itself bent to his will. But standing there, watching him approach, Claire understood that beauty was the wrong word. He was not beautiful. He was inevitable. His pale gray eyes swept the room without interest, without warmth, without judgment. As if none of this mattered. As if the world itself was something he endured rather than lived within. Kings did not come to auctions. Kings chose brides from palaces, from treaties, from kingdoms desperate for favor. And yet here he was. Continue, he said. His voice was calm, cold, final. The auctioneer stammered, nearly dropping his ledger as the king began to walk toward the platform. The crowd parted instinctively. no one daring to stand in his path. Claire's breath grew shallow. She told herself he would pass her. He would glance once, see the hood, and move on. A man like him had no reason to choose a woman who hid her face. Footsteps stopped at the first woman. A pause. Then they moved on. Another pause. Another rejection. Each step closer tightened the knot in Claire's chest. Then the footsteps stopped directly in front of her. Silence swallowed the hall. Claire stared down at the stone beneath her feet. Heart hammering so loudly, she was certain he could hear it. She waited for the demand. For the order to lift her hood. For the disgust. It never came. I'll take her. The words cut through the silence like a blade through silk. For a heartbeat, no one reacted. Then chaos erupted. What? Her? Why her? Claire's mind went blank. He couldn't mean her. He couldn't. But when the auctioneer stammered, confirmation, and the king did not correct him, reality settled like frost in her veins. The Alpha King had chosen the woman no one was meant to see. And in that moment, as the hall filled with disbelief and outrage, Claire realized something far more terrifying than rejection. She had been claimed by the one man in the kingdom who could not afford to love. She believed marriage would mean exposure, humiliation, destruction. She did not yet understand that the king's true condition was not her secret, but his. The carriage moved slowly through the northern road, its wheels crunching against frost-hardened stone. Claire sat rigid inside, hands folded tightly in her lap beneath layers of dark fabric. She had not spoken since leaving the hall. Not a word. Not a sound. Only now, as the auction hall faded into memory, did she allow herself to breathe. She was leaving. She had been chosen. Not by a merchant. Not by a desperate lord seeking a second wife. But by the Alpha King himself. The knowledge felt unreal, like a dream that would shatter the moment she reached out to touch it. Her thoughts circled the same question again and again, relentless and unanswered. Why? He had walked past women who were beautiful, unscarred, eager to be seen. He had ignored bloodlines, dowries, alliances. He had stopped before the one woman who offered nothing but mystery. Who hid her face? Who hid her truth? The castle appeared on the horizon like a wound carved into the mountain. Vast, gray, and ancient. Its towers rose into a pale sky, sharp as broken teeth. This was no palace meant for comfort. It was a fortress. A place built to endure sieges, winters, and secrets. As the carriage slowed, Claire felt something unexpected stir beneath her fear. Relief. For the first time in years, her father's shadow was gone. His threats. His contempt. The certainty of cruelty waiting for her if she returned unwanted. Whatever awaited her here, it could not be worse than what she had escaped. A guard opened the carriage door and offered his hand. She hesitated only a moment before taking it, stepping down onto cold stone. The air smelled of snow and iron. Inside, the corridor stretched endlessly, lit by narrow windows and flickering torches. Servants bowed as she passed. Not mockingly. Not with curiosity sharp enough to cut. Simply, formally. As if she belonged. It made her dizzy. They stopped before a heavy wooden door. The guard knocked once, then twice. "The king will see you now, my lady." Her heart began to race. She stepped inside. The room was a study. Orderly, controlled, stripped of unnecessary luxury. Maps covered the desk. Shelves of books lined the walls. A low fire burned despite the mild season, its warmth doing little to chase away the chill that seemed woven into the stones themselves. And by the window stood the Alpha King. Up close, his presence was overwhelming. He turned as she entered, and Claire felt the cold immediately. Not metaphorical, not imagined. It radiated from him, subtle but unmistakable. As if winter itself lingered beneath his skin, she dropped into a curtsy, her hood slipping forward. "Your Majesty." "Rise," he said. His voice held no hostility. No kindness either. It was perfectly controlled, stripped of inflection. She straightened slowly. "You may speak," he added. Already turning away as if the matter were settled, panic flared. Your Majesty, she said quickly, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. I never intended to deceive you. He paused. Deceive me? The veil, she whispered. Before we marry, you should know why I wear it. He raised a hand, stopping her. I have no interest in knowing. The words struck harder than any insult. Claire froze. Excuse me? You hide your face, he said calmly. I assume there is a reason. That is sufficient. She took a step forward despite herself. But you don't understand. If you were to see, I will not be seeing you. The statement settled into the room like a verdict. Her breath caught painfully in her throat. Your Majesty, she said, struggling to remain steady. Others will see me. They will tell you what I look like. I would rather you hear it from me than, if you wish never to be seen, he interrupted, turning back to face her. Then that shall be arranged. She stared at him. I will issue an edict, he continued, as if discussing something mundane. You will be veiled at all times in public. Your attendants will be chosen accordingly. Anyone who violates this will answer to me. Her knees nearly gave out. Why would he do this? You will be my wife, he said quietly. My queen. Nothing more is required. Nothing more. No curiosity. No desire, no revulsion, only indifference. And yet, protection. He moved toward the door. The wedding will take place in 3 days, he said. That is all. When the door closed behind him, Claire sank into the nearest chair. Her heart pounding. This was madness. A trap. A kindness too dangerous to trust. She should refuse. She should flee while she still could. But when she closed her eyes, she saw her father's face twisted with hatred. She remembered his promise of chains and silence. Cold over cruelty. She thought, I will choose cold. The next morning, she was summoned to the council chamber. Her father was there. So were the king's advisors, watching her with thinly veiled curiosity. The Alpha King sat at the head of the table, composed, distant. Unreadable. The marriage contract lay before them. The terms are simple, the king said, his gaze resting not on her face but on the veil itself. I will never look upon you. Neither will anyone in my household or kingdom by decree. Her father surged forward. Your Majesty, you don't know what you're agreeing to. I was not addressing you, the king said calmly. Claire felt something warm flicker in her chest. My future queen, he continued, turning back to her. Is this agreeable to you? Yes, she said softly. More than agreeable. His brow furrowed slightly. Why? Because, Claire replied, steady now. You offer me safety without cruelty. He stared at her for a long moment. Something like confusion crossing his features. Very well, he said finally. He continued listing the conditions. An heir. A contractual marriage. Separate lives. No shared meals. No shared affection. No love. I will give you everything, he concluded. But I will feel nothing. The room waited for her to break. She did not. Except, she said clearly. Her father's fury was unmistakable. The king's confusion. Even more so. And when she signed her name, Claire understood the truth of what she had agreed to. She had married a man who believed himself incapable of love. She thought the danger lay in being seen. She did not yet know that loving him was the one thing that could kill him. The cathedral bells rang across the city like a warning rather than a celebration. Claire walked alone. No father to guide her. No mother to steady her trembling hands. Only the heavy veil pressed against her skin and the echo of footsteps on cold stone as thousands watched in silence. Desperate for a glimpse they would never receive. She could feel their disappointment before they voiced it. At the altar, the Alpha King waited. He wore black, as though mourning something already lost. The fabric clung to his broad frame, emphasizing the sharp lines of his shoulders. The stillness of a man who did not fidget, did not doubt, did not hope. When she reached him, she felt it again. The cold. Stronger now. Not unpleasant, constant. Like standing too close to a frozen river. The vows were spoken, formal, ancient, binding. When the priest asked if he would lift the veil, the entire cathedral seemed to hold its breath. I will not, the king said calmly. Instead, he took her gloved hand and pressed his lips to her knuckles, a gesture so restrained, so deliberate, that the crowd murmured in confusion. That night, behind closed doors, he did something no one expected. He blindfolded himself. I will not see you by accident, he said quietly. You deserve that respect. In the darkness, stripped of sight, something changed. Without vision, he relied on touch, on breath, on presence. He was gentle, almost painfully so. And for the first time in her life, Claire was touched without fear, without judgment, without demand. She learned the truth slowly, not through words, but through patterns, through nights where he came and left, through the way his skin was always cold, no matter how warm the room became, through the way he never slept beside her at first, as though closeness was something dangerous. Yet he returned. Again. And again. Weeks passed, then months. What began as obligation softened into habit, habit into comfort, comfort into something neither of them named. They spoke in the dark, about small things, about governance, about winters past, about nothing that mattered, and everything that did. He listened to her, he asked her thoughts. And without realizing it, he began to trust her. The bond crept in quietly, like frost spreading beneath the skin. She felt it first, the ache when he was gone too long, the way her body recognized him before her mind did, the way her vulva stirred only for him. When she told him she carried his child, he did not pull away. He stayed longer. Held her tighter, spoke of the future. And that was when the curse began to tighten. She woke one night to find him shaking violently beside her, skin colder than ever before. Frost crept across his chest, pale and unnatural. What's happening to you? She whispered. He tried to dismiss it, tried to lie. But love has a way of undoing lies. The truth came spilling out between shallow breaths. A curse laid generations ago by a king who feared weakness. A bargain with magic meant to strip love from the bloodline. Kings who could rule without mercy, but would die if they ever felt too deeply. I chose you, he confessed, voice breaking, because I thought I could never love a woman I could not see. Tears soaked her veil, and I was wrong. The frost spread. His heart slowed. Claire realized the cruelest truth of all. She was killing him by loving him. Desperate, she did the one thing she had sworn never to do. She lifted the veil. She showed him everything. The branded mark of witchcraft, the scar that had ruined her life, the truth of what she was. She expected revulsion. Hatred. Release. Instead, he touched her face with reverence. You're beautiful, he whispered. And the frost surged. Because love does not vanish when confronted with truth. It deepens. When he collapsed, dying in her arms, Claire screamed for help, but already knew no healer could save him. Only magic could. Only the very thing the kingdom feared. She defied the council, summoned a witch, uncovered the lies that had bound her power, faced the man who had destroyed her life, and learned the truth of her bloodline. Fire answered her call. Not wild, not destructive. Controlled. Purposeful. She pressed her burning hands to his frozen heart, weeping, begging, choosing him without hesitation. And ice met fire. The curse shattered. Not just for him, but for every king who would follow. When he woke days later, warmth had returned to his skin. For the first time in his life, he felt heat. Love. Freedom. He found her in the gardens weeks later, holding their son beneath blooming roses. You saved me, he said. She shook her head softly. We saved each other. He kissed her without fear, without blindfolds, without shadows. The kingdom would remember him as the king who broke an ancient curse. But Claire knew the truth. He had been saved not by power, not by fire, but by a love that waited, chose, endured.